Sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew. I represent the technical support team, and today I will be your host for our today's webinar, Remote Control for Car Sharing. Please, once again, who joined us recently, check your, the quality. So it should show video and audio. And so if any questions appear, you can ask them in chat or in questions menu. We will now briefly look through the webinar settings and then go straight to our topic. Today we will pay close attention to the following parts of the car sharing. So we'll look at the full process, like from tasks that the integrators get when working for car sharing to solutions that give you means to meet these requirements and tasks. What Galileosky trackers can give in order to implement these car sharing solutions and meet different requirements, and what key benefits the Galileosky trackers give for this type of solutions. I will give small tips on how to make the projects more efficient and more overwhelming, and widen the functionality with the help of EZLogic tool. And we'll look at small case study results and see what main problems and main issues the integrators may face when they start working with the car sharing in the car sharing industry and start to implement these car sharing projects. So our today's webinar length will be about 60 minutes, where about 30-40 minutes will go for the presentation itself, and the rest will be for the questions section. So questions from you. After we finish this webinar, the recording will be sent to the email to all registered participants, to the email that was entered when registering for the event. And if you need to ask any questions, it is better to do that on the questions tab that you can see on the upper side of your screen. You can also do it in chat, but it would be more sufficient if you do it in the question tab. So yes, you can see here where the question tab is and how to access it. So if you need to hide it, there is a small arrow on the upper right side of the screen. So what are the basic tasks that car sharing industry involves for the integrators? They can be divided into several specific groups. First one, of course, is that any client that will use this car sharing service or will make decision either to use it or not is looking for convenience in usage. So what is crucial is to create a convenient service that any client will find easy to use in a short time, and so on. So it's usability. So what is important is that users at any time should be able to easily find a free car, and not just all free cars, but free car near their location. So based on their current geolocation, that is usually implemented via the GPS tracking on the phone if it's a mobile application, and looking at the GPS positions of the trackers inside the car sharing vehicles. Also, such functionalities may be used as remote turning on the engine, just in order to to make it more convenient for the client to already start up the car, maybe to warm up the car, to open and close central locks in order to get access to the vehicle, of course, and to receive notifications when the car is in need of refueling. Usually, when using car sharing service, clients are obliged at some point to refuel the cars, and their expenses are covered in this part, as far as I know. So that is usually up to the provider of the car sharing service to decide how to how to fee the clients for the gasoline and for the refueling. But it is crucial to inform the customer when the car should be refueled, when the fuel is running low, because, well, that's again the convenience that we are talking about in this section. Apart from being a convenient service, some of the functions should be automated. So um, the service performance should be automated, and of course the communication with a live operator should be reduced, because doesn't matter how fast the operator will reply, it is still more time consuming than when you can do anything with the help of technology and automized parts of the system, which are so the dispatcher should always be able to be notified about the current vehicle state. Of course, that also involves not only, for example, fuel level state, but in all in all, the condition, if it's with a bad incline, or if it's it got into accident, or if it's trying to be accessed by unauthorized, so if it's danger of car theft. Um, Apart from that, we can set, and it might be a requirement to automatically shut down the engine in case if car theft is determined. Uh, Automatic temperature control inside the vehicle might also be the requirement. For example, in some hot countries or cold countries, there might be needed turning on the conditioning system in case if it's a hot day, and, well, the customer does not want to get inside a car that was standing for several hours without movement under the direct sun and is very hot inside. Or vice versa, to turn on the warming system in case if the weather is cold and client wants to get inside a warm car. And of course, any service relies on stable and non-stop performance of the system. So no losses of connection with the vehicle, or connection with the operator, or inability to switch on or off the car should be experienced. Otherwise, of course, this will be a bad thing for the service all in all, and for the customer's reaction in specifics. What else is needed is a full integration with the system for remote control. As I already mentioned, some parts of the some parts of the vehicle system are crucial for car sharing, like blocking system, central lock, engine start and block. Commands can be sent in different ways, so it's not only um, commands from mobile application that is let's just say that is possible. It can also be a command from using the SMS command, or commands from monitoring software, if the monitoring software supports it, of course. These commands, as I already mentioned, can start or block the engine, control the central lock, so again, open or close the central lock in case client wants to get access to the vehicle, or control conditioning and heater systems, headlights, etc. So actually, client can also using, for example, CAN or using inputs and outputs can turn well, remotely turn on the headlights just to even get understanding where his car is standing. So that's also quite convenient. And of course, one of the key points of car sharing projects is safety, because you are renting a car to a stranger, well, not quite a stranger, since there is some kind of authorization, but still there are some security issues with car sharing field that should be taken into consideration. So what can be done to increase safety of the rented cars and reduce risk of car theft? As we already mentioned, it can be the engine can be blocked in case of unauthorized access to the vehicle. Authorization can be via mobile application or RFID card or white button key. So well, there are different actually kinds of types of authorization that can be taken into use. Also, there can be set some automatic accident reaction in case if there is a strike or incline detected or alarm button is pressed. There is a whole part with signaling that can be used as well, since we have signaling tab with different types of reactions and different types of indications for signaling. And of course, refueling when needed, and fuel theft control, which is also quite a significant part of the safety measure, should also be taken into consideration. So different reports on the monitoring software side can indicate that if the car was in need of fuel, if it was refueled, or if there was a fuel theft. For example, when car was standing, but the fuel was reducing. So and also, well, that's also part of the safety, but it's not only about safety, it's also about increasing the maintenance quality, so reducing the spending of the vehicle details, and they're getting old and out of quality. By accurate driving and watching that drivers that use car sharing rented cars, drive safely and accurately. So this of course involves driving style control with the control of sharp turns, accelerations, and braking. Um, the standards for each car can be set individually depending on the car size and car mass and, well, different other points. Also, of course, it is crucial to notify the dispatcher in real time, so when the violation is made, or if vehicle state changed. We can use and it may be required to use different speed limits for different zones and areas. So certain geofences can be created and applied for different speed limits can be applied for them. The same goes for driver profile. For example, if you have a list of customers that already have experience with your cars, and in the car sharing project you can set driver profile with different characteristics of the driving quality, and set different speed limits and different reports depending on their features. And also, since some car sharing projects may use certain discounts for fuel for refueling on certain areas, the reports and system of these discounts or higher prices can be created also depending on driver profiles for different drivers. So just to sum up, what usually is expected and what is needed in a good car sharing project. It's a convenient system for the driver, so he can use, he knows how to use it, it's easy to use, and it gives a lot of opportunities to do many things without connecting or contacting with the dispatcher or operator. So the service performance should be optimized and stable. The vehicle should be controlled, or at least be able to be controlled remotely. Um, there are certain issues concerning the rented vehicle's safety and diverse pricing system according or depending on the drivers that use the rented cars. Um, all of that can be achieved using Galileosky trackers. At least many of those things can be achieved directly with the help of the trackers. So what are the main Galileosky features that can help you in creating a car sharing project and making sure that all the requirements and all the issues that we've covered before can be fulfilled and met in the existing or created system. Of course, first and one of the main instruments that will help you in this is the CAN scanner. So our powerful CAN scanner tool in Galileosky trackers allows to read all the CAN bus and make a quick CAN bus search for specific identifiers, or to look for the type of data that you want, like opening, closing doors, fuel, and so on. Just in real time understand which of the identifiers stand for it and use it in your existing system for locking the engine, unlocking the engine, um, turning on the engine, watching the fuel, watching the speed, watching the mileage, and so on and so forth. So there are plenty of possibilities and opportunities that CAN scanner gives. It's only up to our clients to understand which of them they will use and which not, and which are convenient for them to use. We also support eco driving systems, so it is based on our accelerometer, the built-in accelerometer in the tracker, which allows to send to the server values of 4 types of acceleration. It's direct forward acceleration, acceleration backwards, or braking, which is pretty much the same. The acceleration on turns, so finding the sharp turns if they exist, and vertical acceleration in case of bumps or holes on the road. So the harder the vertical acceleration is, well, the less accurate is the driver. We support so-called events recreation in case of an accident. So our trackers have a feature that when it's for Galileosky 7 N-base block, if they use microSD card for archive storage, then the archive is written not only in standard way with the standard period of recording. It is also written second by second as a secondary archive, which is not sent to the monitoring server. But in case if any accident occurs and you need to recreate the events and get the information about each second before and after the accident in some period of time, you can use a special command that you can address our technical support team if you need more details, and the tracker will send to the monitoring server all these all the points that were recorded during this period second by second. So it's quite quite effective way to recreate the event when you know all the parameters, all the values that were before the accident. If there was some acceleration, or if the speed was too high, or, well, there are different manners of and different values that can indicate this or that and answer the questions about how that happened actually. Our trackers allow to create polygonal geofences and set different reactions when the tracker gets inside or outside the geofences. So currently, with the help of KML files or EZLogic, we can create different types of geofences, which are polygonal, linear, and circle. Circle are made via EZLogic tool, and linear and polygonal via some external source like EZLogic, for example, or Google Earth that allows to extract KML file and also record it on the microSD card. So there you have the opportunity to set reactions, for example, for entering a forbidden zone, or setting different speed limits in different geofences, or send notification when a vehicle is accessing or leaving a certain geofence, and so on. So also the list of possibilities is quite wide. It's up to you to decide which of these functions will be of use for you. We support a pretty wide list of different monitoring softwares with which we are integrated by our native protocol Galileosky, and also with the common protocol EGTS. Apart from these monitoring softwares, we also support quite a lot of external devices, so peripheral devices via different interfaces, like we support analog and discrete sensors, buttons, end sensors, and so on. We support different devices via one wire, so which are, for example, iButton and RFID temperature sensors. We support a lot of devices using the digital RS-232 or RS-485 interfaces, like photo cameras, like tachographs, quite a lot of them actually. You can see the full list in our website galileosky.com in the documentation section. And of course, one of the external devices can be the CAN bus itself, which you can either access directly and use CAN scanner to scan it, or you can also use external CAN login device, which will automatically decipher some data in the vehicle and work with the deciphered data. That is also possible. Then the tracker will work with the vehicle using the existing algorithm of actions, so the script that the behavior that you set, even when the vehicle is out of GSM network coverage, which means that you don't need to maintain the network all the time and face certain problems when tracker is for some time out of network. The tracker will continue working in the same way it worked before. It will just store all the points inside the memory until until it has gets an opportunity to send all the data to the tracking to the monitoring server. But of course, sending commands remotely, in this case when GSM is not supported, will not be supported until the tracker returns into network. And as I mentioned, there is a possibility of remote configuration of the tracker, so you don't need to connect to it locally via USB. You can also configure it via SMS messages, and by GPRS, which is by commands from monitoring software, for example, EZLogic, as well as by a configurator program, so which supports not only local but also remote configuration. And also, if you are using configurator program, you can set not only one tracker, you can also set a group of trackers simultaneously using configuration file or a list of commands or an algorithm. So basic idea is Galileosky gives a lot of opportunities to use when creating a car sharing project. So it's usually all up to what your project requires and what the client or you yourself want to see in the project, what options, what features, and so on. And as for how to do it, that's, well, I mean, um, how to make all this true. Well, Galileosky will, in majority of cases, be able to help you to do that using the CAN scanner, the existing integrations and functions, and of course, EZLogic. Speaking of EZLogic, one of the that's one of the most well, impressive and most widely used tools when working with the car sharing project, because it gives you opportunity to create your own chain of events and reactions to certain actions, to manually set the tracker to work in the way that you want it to work. So if any of you have already working with EZLogic, or at least have any skills in programming or making algorithms, then it will be quite easy for you to understand how wide this functionality is and how many things it allows to do. So just to give you a number of examples of what actually was done using EZLogic, um, there is a possibility to set a remote engine start after authorization or via command from mobile application. So this is controlling one of the outputs, or well, in this case, engine start is usually using two outputs, one for controlling the ignition and the other for starting the engine. Um, there is ability to change the pricing and speed limit control depending on the set geofence. There is ability to set sending to the dispatcher real-time notifications about violations, accidents, if the vehicle is evacuated, and ability to send and set and send different driving style um, uh, features and values that can further be used when creating driving style reports on the monitoring software side. And of course, widely used is the ability to make voice notifications for the driver when he, well, when, for example, when refueling is needed, or to notify how much fuel was refilled, as well as stating when a violation was created. So our trackers support connecting the external speakers and when and recording different sound files with voice in it, and recording it to the micro SD card in the tracker. So then in the EZLogic algorithm, you can simply create a chain of events, like if speed is exceeded, play audio file, and the tracker will play audio file to the driver each time he makes this violation. So that's quite handy for the driver to understand what is he doing or what should be done to well, to meet the requirements of the system. Okay, so that was basically all. Just wanted to also point out certain things that haven't been pointed out about the existing experience, since we have some partners and well, a lot of partners actually, and some of them are already faced these car sharing projects and had some experience in it, so they gave us some hints on what should be taken into consideration. First of all is that safety measure is one of the well, priority in higher priority when creating car sharing project, mostly because well, let's just say the people and clients can be different, and well, there are many cases of theft, not only vehicle theft itself, it can be also theft of something inside the vehicle, fuel theft, and so on. So of course it is best to avoid such cases and to set certain safety measures in case if anything is to be stolen, and to watch carefully on that point, because well, that plays a major role in that. Apart from that, also one of the main mistakes maybe when starting car sharing project is not well, not realistic understanding of what client wants to do in the project and how much it will actually cost. So understanding the real cost of the project is also quite crucial, because usually it all starts with client wanting or integrator wanting to do this and that, to use drones, to use video cameras inside the vehicle, to use a lot of sensors and so on. But when time comes and he sees the real price of all that, it comes that, well, it seems to be quite a lot. So it is also always very important to have this balance between what you want and what you can afford, or what is more likely um, to be not an economical minus in the project. So that's just what should be taken into consideration. Apart from that, well, many use Canvas and the Canvas features and control outputs. Output when working with engine and output engine, it is quite important to make it all safe, to make sure that you know all the electronic scheme of the vehicle, what is connected to what, and where you can safely widen the system with Galileosky using the output. So for example, for blocking the engine, it can be used using the engine battery or using the fuel system of the engine, not the whole fuel system, but the fuel controller. So so it is quite important to look into a specific model and understand what is safe to do, and what well, what should be studied more or even avoided if possible. That's actually the main ideas that we've received from our clients about car sharing projects. It is quite well, it's getting quite widely spread. So you can also look at different other articles concerning this car sharing projects. As for our presentation, I think that's all that I wanted to say. So thank you very much for your attention. I don't see currently any questions in the question area, so please, if you have any, it's time to write them down. I will try to answer them in the, well, in the same order you ask them. Try to cover all the material since, well, the topic is quite interesting. So I'm waiting for your questions. Also, I would like to mention that recently we started, and maybe you have also already mentioned, we have started to make a series of videos. Well, we currently have one video new on our YouTube channel. concerning the eco driving. So we will try to cover the majority of the existing markets and fields of work where our trackers can be used, and create a video that will look from both client and integrator side on what can be done with our trackers, and what is more important, how it can be done. So the most important, the video that was last released is eco driving. It's about driving style, and we will and there you can see that how to set different the vehicle to send values of different accelerations to the monitoring server, how the tracker reacts to this eco driving system, and well, there is pretty much covered all of that. So I highly recommend you to check our YouTube channel from time to time, since we often use and upload different new videos there that might be of high interest to you. Okay, so I see we have some questions from you already. That's great. So Joseph is asking if I can show the basics of using EZLogic. Well, actually, that's not the topic of today's webinar, and I'm afraid that won't be of good value, because the quality of the webinar won't allow me to give you much information on that. But we have a special course for that purpose that's called EZLogic Basic. You can access it by simply addressing to our tech support team at support@7gears.com. I will now write it in chat. And just to mention your contact data, like email, name of the company, and write that you have a certain, well, you want to access this course. You will be given a link to that. Also, I see that our team sent you a link in the answer to the question. Okay, next. So did the integrators cooperate with developed their own management software for the? Well, usually they develop their own. This is a good question because the car sharing projects are usually pretty individual. There are rarely some general things that well, that can meet the requirements of specific client. Usually clients work on their requirements for their car sharing project and then create their own software or their own mobile application that allows them to do whatever, well, to fulfill whatever functions they need in their projects. As for monitoring servers, well, I don't know any specifics here, but as far as I know, one of our clients for sure used Vialon. As for the others, I'm not sure. Maybe they use their own software for the PC version. Maybe they all used some of the existing ones. Of that, I'm afraid I don't have much info. Yeah, as for the email I've already shared, I can also write you directly in answer. So please, yes, feel free to address our tech support team, because we have a lot of specialists there, and we are always ready and eager to help you with any questions on your existing projects that you have. We also have, apart from email, we have Skype support, Galileosky, where we also respond to your requirements. So please feel free to address us. We will be happy to help you whenever and however we want. We can, I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, just the last question for now, from Surjam. We can send SMS to control device output, but is there any way to communicate with Galileosky device using a mobile app? Yeah. Okay. So the main idea here is we don't have any existing mobile application for that purpose. But as far as I know, a mobile application can be made to send commands via GPRS or to send commands via SMS channel. And in this case, it will be practically the same as sending direct SMS commands, but you don't need to know the syntaxes of the commands. So it will be a lot easier for the clients, and it will higher up the usability in this way. Also, certain monitoring softwares, as far as I know, also have their mobile versions that allow to send commands as well. So here, yes, controlling device output, and actually not only that, you can also set certain inputs. You can create even your own custom commands in the EZLogic tab and EZLogic script that you then load to the tracker, and there set certain behavior for the tracker. So it all can be sent via SMS or via GPRS. It doesn't matter, the tracker understands both commands. The only difference here is when you create such branch in the EZLogic tab, you will need to use either received command or received SMS. Received command will read all commands, doesn't matter GPRS or SMS, but received SMS will look only on SMS messages. So, but these are of course details, which I think you will also find and read when accessing the Galileosky basic EZLogic basic course. Okay, then what about e-scooter sharing? I'm sorry, Walid, but I'm afraid I don't know the term. That if that's what I think, so if that's some sort of motorcycle or scooter, yeah, that's what I thought. Well, here I don't think maybe that the tracker will be a good solution, because there is not much place for it to put, and the electronic scheme is quite yes, okay, I understood. You see, the electronics are pretty simple here. There is not much place to put a tracker, and well, maybe the most how would I say, most crucial part is that Galileosky trackers consume energy, so they consume voltage, they consume electricity. When we're talking about vehicles, as you know, generate electricity in their accumulators and accumulate it there while working with the engine. But the e-scooters are simply rechargeable, as far as I know. So in this case, you will simply shorten the life of e-scooter before the next recharging by connecting additional device that will use its power resources. So it's possible, it's quite possible, and you can try that, but I would not, I think, recommend trackers for that purpose. Although, to be honest, I simply haven't had any experience with the scooter car sharing. Oh, scooter sharing. Electric vehicles ready energy consumption instead of fuel data. Okay, that's well, yes, I see the question. That's quite narrow questions, to be honest, because it all depends how the vehicles send data about the electrics to the tracker. But you can actually control energy consumption pretty simple by the tracker value of external power. So the tracker will always receive external power from this electric vehicle, and since there is no other way of power or recharge of this power source, the external power will get lower. So in that case, you will in each message see the difference between the previous electric external power value and current one. So by consequent fall of this external power, you will get quite the picture of what is current voltage on the electric vehicle and how much was consumed or spent, and either it's in need of recharge or not. I hope I answered your question, Walid. Sorry. Okay, so any other questions? I can see that there are no questions in the question part. Yes, you're welcome. Okay, then. Just you have a couple of minutes now to think if you have anything else. As for the upcoming webinars, just for you to know, in March we are planning to have a webinar about fuel control, and more than that, that would be not only our team, tech team, holding the webinar. We will also have a guest from monitoring software platform we are on, who will also have his materials and give some information on how to control fuel from the monitoring server side. So it's going to be quite a full review of what can be done when working with fuel level sensors from the tracker side and from the monitoring server side. So I'm pretty sure that will be of much interest to you. So keep up with the links and the messages from our marketing team. And once you see that the registering for webinar starts, you can sign in. I think it will be the webinar will be somewhere in the near the end of March. So I think near the middle of March there will be register opened. Also, you can, and I always encourage to write in chat, write to our tech support or any other sources what webinars will be of interest to you. So what topics should we cover? How can we help in working with our trackers and so on. So please feel free to watch our YouTube videos, look at our instructions, and if any questions appear, again, you can always address our tech support team, and we are always ready to help you, no matter what the question or issue. Okay, as far as I can see, there are no more questions left. I hope that you enjoyed today's webinar, and we've covered pretty much all that we planned to cover in the webinar plan. See you next time on our next webinar. I hope to see you there. Thank you very much for your attention and have a nice day. Goodbye.